This vibrational reality, it's such a real thing. We've written 2 books about it because we want to get your attention about it. The vortex, we even gave it a name, the vortex, this vibrational reality, because we want you to accept its reality. We want you to accept its existence. And most important comment of the day, we want you to tune yourself to the frequency of it. That's what the receiving mode is. You have to get up to vibrational speed with what you have vibrationally become. And when you are, then you receive the impulses. Then you receive the blocks of thought. Then you receive the inspiration. Then you are in the receiving mode. You find your timing is good, right place, right time. And most of all, it's more and more fun. Way more fun. For a while we said to you, everything you want, you included, is in your vortex. So just get in there. And you listened to that for a little while. Then you became a little impatient about it. How do I get in? Where is the door? And we say, it's not like a college degree where once you get your certificate, it's yours forevermore. It either is or it isn't in the moment, depending upon your vibrational balance. So if you're in a bad mood, you're nowhere near it. If you're feeling wonderful, then you are. Your emotions are the key. They are your indicator of how close to being in the vortex you are. And then we began a more easy for you to understand analogy. Rather than asking you or demanding of you, that never works, that you get in the vortex. What we're really asking you to do is just stop doing that thing you do that is keeping you from the vibrational equivalency of your vortex. If you're not focused upon something that is different than your vortex, then you'll be right there. It's like the cork that bobs on the surface of the water. You can hold it under the water. That's unnatural to the cork. That's what negative emotion is in our analogy. But when you let go of it, it will bob right back up. If you'll discontinue doing that thing you do, where you hold yourself out of the vortex or away from the vibrational receiving of it, when you stop doing that, then you'll be in the receiving mode. So ways to be in the receiving mode are find things that are satisfying. Or at least stop focusing on the things that aren't satisfying. You don't even have to focus on what's satisfying. Just stop being dissatisfied. So satisfaction is your indication that you're in the receiving mode. And your work really is to do your best to maintain the mood, the atmosphere of being satisfied. But if you're like most humans, your satisfaction or dissatisfaction is all about what's already manifested, which means you're in deep doo-doo. Because you can't stop asking for new, and the new is rarely an instant manifestation. So there's always a gap in that creative unfolding in terms of the idea and it manifesting fully in your experience. And if you are fixated on looking at what is, then you may very well, if you're like most, find a rather large measure of dissatisfaction, which is what's slowing the whole works down. So we want to talk with you about how you can be more satisfied. We want to talk with you about rampages of appreciation. We want to talk to you about books of positive aspects. We want to talk to you about all of those things, sort of, kind of, blah, blah, blah. But you know the difference between positive emotion and negative emotion. How many hundreds of thousands of books have been written on positive mental attitude? People in sports have been doing it and knowing it and understanding it and achieving it for a very, very long time. Lots of other people. You have too. But we want you to understand the vibrational basis behind it, the universal laws behind it. We want you to understand first that you are a genius creator here to create, and that in the creation, you're going to see things you don't want, and that is normal. And when you see things you don't want, that's step one, and it matters very much, and you have asked. Just don't spend your whole life in step one. And something that you have accomplished, if you are like most humans, is that once you know that you want something, and you spend so much time assessing where you are in terms of manifestation in relationship to this thing that you want, you have this tendency, we love you so much, you have this tendency of feeling like you need to explain, justify, rationalize why it hasn't happened yet. It's their fault. or I'm not good, or I'm not worthy, or all of this stuff that you just make up that has no actual validity whatsoever, but you base your perception on what's manifested so far, which is really hard for you because you want it, it hasn't manifested, you notice it hasn't manifested, so it doesn't manifest. So you bang around in more life and you ask for more, but you notice it hasn't manifested. And because you're noticing it hasn't manifested, you're not in the receptive mode, so you don't let it manifest. And then life causes you to ask for it more. So, you should take a peek into your own vortex. You should see what you have put there. You should see what's all queued up for you. You should see what your inner being is attracting by law of attraction on your behalf. And if we were standing in your physical shoes, we'd find ways of letting it in. The biggest, most important way that you could easily tune to the frequency of your vortex, that you could easily become a steady vibrational equivalent to the vibration of your vortex, which means then what's in there can easily flow into your mind, into your impulses, into your receiving. Because really, you don't want somebody else to do it for you, do you? No, say no. No, you don't want someone else to do it for you, do you? You really don't. You think you just want the manifestation to drop into your experience, but you don't. You don't. You are the creator of your own experience. You want your hands in the clay. You've just been frustrated because you've been asking and you're not seeing it. It's like God or somebody must be out to lunch. Where's the delivery system here? Abraham, if all that money's in the vortex, how do I get it out of the vortex and into my bank account? How do I make that happen? And we say, you got to raise your vibration, which means you've got to lower your resistance, which means you got to feel good. You got to feel satisfied. And what we've noticed as we've been watching you is that the fastest way for you to get to a consistent allowing of what you want is a daily meditation in which, for 15 or 20 minutes, that's all, you sit with the intention of quieting your mind, which simply means you just focus upon something that doesn't matter very much to you. Esther, if she were deciding that she were going to meditate in this room, she would sit, take her shoes off, get comfortable, put her feet on the floor, leave her shoulders loose and her hands in her lap, and breathe a little bit. And then she would listen for something in the room. Sometimes she even uses her cell phone because she's got an app that has sounds on it. But in this room, she would listen for the sound of the air conditioner. Do you hear? The reason that that's a particularly good thing to focus upon is because you're not talking smack about that. I've heard better. You don't do that with that. And because it's not very juicy in thought, if you will continue to turn your attention back to it. Now, you may, depending on how far into your day you are, earlier you meditate, the better, the easier for you. As you focus upon it, your mind may wander because your mind already has some momentum going. There are already active thoughts. So the whole point of meditation is to distract yourself from the thoughts that are active, because when you distract yourself from the thoughts that are active, you're no longer adding to the vibrational momentum of the thought. And each time you quiet your mind, so any active thoughts that may be resistant in nature are now not a player in your vibrational mix, then your vibration begins to rise. And it doesn't take long before you're in sync with who you are. Now, don't be upset if once you've found that place of detachment, if thoughts are flowing in your mind, just ask yourself the simple question. Okay, the thoughts are louder now than the air conditioner that I was focused upon, but are these thoughts satisfying? And if the thoughts are satisfying, then just know that you are most likely in the receiving mode, and that you and your inner being are sharing these thoughts. Your inner being is thinking these thoughts, and you are receiving these thoughts, and you and your inner being are thinking these thoughts. And the momentum, can you feel it in your body? Some of you can, can't you? The momentum of these thoughts is the process of thoughts turning to things. Now, they're not going to turn to things immediately. The ceiling isn't going to open and your $20 million is not going to fall at your feet, probably. Now we're talking smack about your millions. But what is going to happen is the vibrational momentum is becoming more. And whatever it is that you've asked for that has already been given is now going to be within your vibrational view, your emotional view, your sensing view, your impulse view. You know it. Sometimes you're in traffic. Driving is really a nice thing because often you're distracted from thoughts. And often you'll get an impulse to change lanes or to take an exit or to do something that is clear communication from your inner being. But if you're not practiced at deliberately quiet your mind, if you're not practiced at deliberately raising your vibration, if you're not practiced at the feeling of alignment, if you don't know when you're in the receiving mode and when you're not, you see, we want to call that under the influence. Really under the influence of who you really are. But we also have to say, you are always 100% of the time under the influence of something. And usually, we love you so much, you are under the influence of what is, which means what is not changing for you. You got to stop being so under the influence of how things are and allow yourself through meditation and appreciation and positive aspects and any other thing that you can think of. If it's satisfying for somebody to rub your feet, get your feet rubbed. And so on. Satisfaction, 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 satisfaction. When you make that something that matters to you, others around you will call you selfish. Others around you may not understand the importance of this alignment that we are guiding you toward. But when you will put how you feel first and foremost, and then you will set yourself up for success. One day, many years ago, Esther was talking to her daughter, Tracy, and Tracy's children were little. And Esther was on the phone with her, and Esther said, "What are you doing?" And Tracy said they were getting ready to go out for the day. They were going to meet Jerry and Esther somewhere. And Tracy said, "I just want to set them up for success for this day." And Esther said, "What do you mean?" And she says, I want them to have eaten. I want them to have had their nap. I want them to be in the place where they are going to have the best day with you guys. Isn't that a nice thought? Don't bring your kids out starving and hangry. And don't do it to yourself either. Don't enter your day sleep deprived and deprived of things that matter to you. You got to be nicer to you. You got to put yourself in the place of more moments of your day feeling satisfaction, which means you got to tune yourself to the things that are. When life is good to you and you know it, life must be good to you. It cannot be otherwise. And the universe will then have to knock itself out to give you yet another way.